CAF United's giant-killing exploits, which saw it dump fancied TP Mazembe out of the continental safari, have been rewarded with 3 trips to North Africa, a place where local teams have struggled. The Zimbabwean Cup Kings, as their faithful refer to them, bounced back from football wilderness last year when they clinched the league after a 10-year drought. They advanced to the group stage against the odds and are looking to cause more upsets there too.
It's actually motivating to us that we're going to be facing those big teams, Zamalek and US Alger and the other team from Libya. You know, it's a challenge. It gives us so much excitement and intrinsic motivation within ourselves. We take inspiration from Sundowns. You know, they were drawn against teams from the north last time and they did well.
Matches in the group stages kick off on May 12th. CAF United supporters will be hoping that by the time the games are concluded on July 9th, it'll be more than just frequent flyer miles that their team will have picked up. They're hoping it goes further than just winning its group.
I think they'll go to the semi-finals or probably the finals.
I have faith in them. We are going to the finals. We are going to lose in the finals, but we are getting there. And I believe that.
The added demands of continental football will pile pressure on the champions, who are still to hit their championship-winning form of last year.
We want to do well in the league as usual. You know, we're aiming high as usual. We're going to give it our best. We're not worried about the first 4 games. You know, we've won 1, we've drawn 3. It's part of football. It's part of the marathon.
CAPS is currently 10th on the log standings and has 1 more league fixture before it opens its Champions League account. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
To further analyze club football in the continent, we are joined by Marwan Saeed, General Manager of football website kingfoot.com. Thank you for joining us. So, looking at the Champions League, which do you see as the most difficult group?
Of course, if we look at the groups, basically a more expanded version of the African Champions League has been put into place. We find ourselves with 9 North African teams, so it shall be of no surprise to find that these groups with the most teams from North Africa have the most tense matches and the highest competition. In my opinion, the second group of Zamalek, USM Alger and Ahli Tripoli will be a very, very tough group. We always know that the North African challenges are very, very tough. They're very tense for both the fans, the media, the teams, the coaches, everyone involved in the games finds these matches very, very intense. Even though Group A poses a very, very perspective group of nice football, saying that the 2 teams of Sudan are pitted in the same group, but I find that Group B shall be the most toughest group to get out of.
Now, the competition this year is taking a new format. How do you see these changes, or how do you think these changes will help boost club football in Africa?
Obviously, we find ourselves with more teams in the group stages. Last season, it was just 2 groups. This season, it's 4 groups. More players can showcase their talents to get more experience, more exposure, bigger contracts, or even bigger moves to clubs abroad or in Africa. We've seen that maybe 8 teams can a little bit harm the development of the competition itself and the players. Well, not just harm, it limits basically, because you don't have maximum number of players that you can to showcase their talent. But this expansion gives a lot of chances for younger players, for players to showcase their talents. It gives chances as well for teams to boost their revenues, since they will be playing more matches. It's beneficial all in all, and I see it as the right step at this moment.
And finally, there are more North African sides in both competitions. Why do you think a region like West Africa struggles at club level?
Look, North Africa is much different than West Africa. There's more money basically in West Africa and North Africa. We've seen a lot of places with poor conditions, but not so much in North Africa as West Africa. Players in North Africa generally have this mentality that they think they would want to move abroad. It's a dream for them. But if they get one of the big team or two in their country, they wouldn't mind moving. Generally, players in West Africa, they think that they want to go abroad for bigger teams and have higher ambitions. In addition to the amount of money spent from the teams on let's say player wages and so, you would find that many West African players, when they find out the amounts of money that the North African teams can give to them, they think, wow, we don't have this at home. You know, you'd be surprised at the amounts of money that the North African teams here can pay players. They can really rival some small leagues in Europe, which is outstanding. This way they can keep their players for much more time. And I think it's generally a mentality issue. North African players, especially when you head east, they think that the homesickness is a very big part of the mentality. You know, also the change in conditions and culture. It becomes very difficult for them to adapt, because mostly North African players they get attached to their home countries. So it's much different in several cases. You know, that's what I think.
All right, Maran Saeed, thank you very much for joining us.